They teach us optimism and empathy. They teach us how to consider facts and draw our own conclusions. They spark creativity, lead to personal enrichment, and a greater connection to place. Through our work at Indiana Humanities, we initiate, support, and highlight thought-provoking and impactful programs in all 92 counties around the state. We bring in interesting speakers. We experiment with different formats, provide grants and resources to other nonprofits, partner with unique organizations, and serve as a megaphone for humanities events, organizations, and youth. Our mission is simple. We want to encourage Hoosiers to think, read, and talk. But our impact is extraordinary. More access to humanities-based programs leads to stronger communities and a stronger Indiana.
This is a really great time for literature in Indiana, especially poetry.
Indiana had one of the greatest literary beginnings of any state.
Of all the places in the world, Indianapolis is where Etheridge Knight was, and Indianapolis is where Mari Evans was.
Wow, there's so much talent here. So much talent that the world doesn't always see.
We're reading works by people we have met, and I think that just takes the kids to another level, and they realize that, you know, this could be me.
And just having somebody tell you, you can do this and you can make a career out of this and believe in yourself, it's really motivating and inspiring.
It makes it more meaningful when you're reading about people who are from where you're from.
We say, well, they're doing bigger things in that city or in that area or on that coast. But we're doing incredible things in the arts here in Indianapolis.
The only way you can change that paradigm is to stop looking outward and start looking a little bit more across the street and see who's there doing work. Sometimes you're going to be amazed at what you find.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. All right, let's try that one more time. Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. I'm Kira Amsutz. I'm President and CEO of Indiana Humanities, and it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to Right Now, a celebration of Indiana literature. Before we begin, I would love to extend and have you help me extend a big thank you to the Arts Council of Indianapolis for being our host this evening. And let's offer a little toast of cheers to Sun King Brewing, who always finds the right beverage for our parties. Thank you, Sun King. This afternoon, we are thrilled to reveal a new Indiana Humanities initiative to encourage Hoosiers to read, think, and talk, the Indiana Authors Awards. In 1923's Indiana, Her Soil and Light, Theodore Dreiser says, "One should not conclude that Indiana's cities and towns are not as interesting as those of other states. To me, they are more so. There is something in the very air that sustains them, that is of the substance of charm. What it is I cannot say. You'll find it suggested in the poems of Riley and stories of Tarkington." Now, Dreiser was born in Terre Haute, and he's describing here something unnameable in the air that produces that unmistakable Hoosierness. I like that word, Hoosierness. Something that our best writers capture with their words and share with every one of their readers. He's referencing here the golden age of Indiana literature in the late 1800s and early 1900s, when Indiana authors dominated the bestseller list. So writers like Lew Wallace, James Whitcomb Riley, Booth Tarkington, Theodore Dreiser, and Gene Stratton Porter were household names. Later, of course, Indy's Kurt Vonnegut lined readers' shelves across the country, and authors like Janet Flanner, Mari Evans, Ross Lockbridge, Etheridge Knight, and Ernie Pyle all found national and international fame for their writing. However, the golden age of Indiana literature has not ended. And that's what brings us together today. We are here to recognize, celebrate, and connect over what's happening in Indiana literature in the Hoosier State right now. So right now, readers cancel their plans every time John Green or Meg Cabot has a new release. Right now, it's fair to say that Indiana is a new center of gravity in poetry, with Adrian Matika, our current poet laureate, Ross Gay, Marianne Baruch, Kava Akbar, and Orlando Menace living and working here today. And right now, you ask any middle schooler, right, Suzanne? And you ask any middle schooler you know, and they will tell you their favorite books are by John David Anderson, Margaret McMullen, Phyllis Reynolds Naylor, Margaret Peterson Haddix. And right now, Maurice Broaddus is literally helping us imagine new worlds with his science fiction set in cities like Indianapolis. Thanks, Maurice. Shout out to Maurice, he's here today. And right now, in my own hometown of Hamilton, Indiana, my dad and I fight over who gets to read Michael Corrida's latest thriller first when we're settling in on a sunny lakeside afternoon. So these writers and many, many others, many of whom are in this room right now, add to the literary heritage of not only Indiana, but the Midwest. Their stories reveal that flyover country is too simple a description. If you stop and stay a while, you'll find unique yet universal stories. The challenge is to make sure that all Hoosiers and the rest of the nation are aware of these authors and our state's impressive literary prowess. So we at Indiana Humanities have a plan to help make that happen. I am proud to announce today that Indiana Humanities is the new engine behind the expanded and reimagined Eugene and Marilyn Glick Indiana Authors Awards. Thanks to the trust and generous support of Glick Philanthropies, we have a plan that not only continues to celebrate Hoosier authors and their recent works, but will shine a spotlight on the state's literary community and deepen connections between Indiana readers and writers. The lack of resources and our too often Hoosier humility sometimes get in the way of us sharing our literary legacy and encouraging more Hoosiers to read local. So this all comes at a time when across the United States, now listen to this, a whopping 24% of Americans haven't cracked a book in the past year, according to the Pew Research Center. Rosemary Dorset is shocked and appalled in the front row. 24%, Rosemary. In terms of access to books, there's the problem of reaching the more than 400,000 Hoosiers who are not served by a library district in large swaths of at least 26 Indiana counties, including my home county of Steuben. Our local librarians would love to be greater champions of Indiana authors if only they knew when great books were coming out. That lack of information is likely why fewer than a third of librarians self-identified as passionate ambassadors for Indiana authors. Today, only 50% of our libraries make it a priority to add books by Indiana authors to their collections. So lack of funding sometimes prevents libraries from hosting authors and writing workshops. So considering these facts, we need to ensure that Hoosiers have access to great Indiana writing through libraries and that writers are known, celebrated, and supported in our state. So here's how we can make it happen right now through the expanded Eugene and Marilyn Glick Indiana Authors Awards. Here are the exciting changes that are on the way.
Exciting changes are coming to the Eugene and Marilyn Glick Indiana Authors Awards. More awards and more categories. More opportunities to meet Indiana authors and attend their writing workshops. More promotion of local authors at libraries across the state. Monthly reviews of books by Hoosier authors appearing in small and large newspapers throughout Indiana. All efforts to help you find your next great Indiana read.
Hi everybody, I'm Megan Seligman and I'm a program manager at Indiana Humanities. And I'm here to tell you a bit more about what you can expect as part of the Indiana Authors Awards going forward. With more awards in more categories in 2020, we'll be able to better honor the breadth of writing in Indiana, from fiction and nonfiction, to graphic novels and genre fiction, to poetry and drama, books for young readers, teens, and adults. To highlight our state's literary heroes, we'll accept nominations for a literary champion, an individual or organization that helps our writers grow and thrive. We'll also accept nominations for a Lifetime Achievement Award, honoring an extraordinary body of work by a Hoosier author. After every award announcement, hundreds of libraries across the state will receive kits of posters, bookmarks, buttons, and more to help them promote the year's winners. Look for those special stickers to let you know that the book is an Indiana Authors Award winner. We'll also offer more opportunities for Hoosiers, especially students, to have that special experience of meeting an Indiana author. Community organizations can apply to host winning authors or writing workshops, and we'll pay the writers' fees. Starting in 2021, we'll also roll out a statewide Rockstar Tour, featuring one of Indiana's high-profile literary all-stars. Over an exhilarating week every other fall, thousands of Hoosiers will have the opportunity to hear from a favorite writer and connect with other readers. We'll continue to offer our Novel Conversations book sets to book clubs statewide. This popular program provides books to reading groups across the state for free. We'll add even more books by contemporary Indiana writers to encourage people to gather and talk about Indiana literature. And last but not least, a new monthly book review column running online and offered to newspapers across the state will help readers find their next great Hoosier read. Each review will be written by an Indiana author, and this month you can read a review of The Book of Delights by Ross Gay, reviewed by poet Callista Buchan from Franklin College. All of these changes have been made possible through the generosity of the Glick family and Glick Philanthropies. Now please help me show our appreciation for these wonderful efforts by welcoming Marianne Glick, Chair of the Glick Family Foundation.
Hi, thank you for coming today. My parents, Eugene and Marilyn Glick, founded the Indiana Authors Awards because they believed that great authors come from Indiana, and that in order to excel, sometimes they need a flash of inspiration and recognition. For the past 10 years, the Indianapolis Public Library Foundation helped us build a successful program that honored dozens of Hoosier writers, award winners, awarding more than $200,000 in prizes, and provided libraries in winning authors' hometowns with financial support. I know many Indiana Awards winners are in the room today, and I'd like them to stand and be recognized. All the Indiana Authors Award winners, please stand. Thank you. It's great to see so many of you here. The success of this awards program and these fine writers is what we want to build upon. And we at Glick Philanthropies are excited to work with Indiana Humanities and its statewide network of partners to elevate Indiana writers across the state and the nation. Going forward, the Indiana Authors Award will encompass not just the set of prizes given biennially, but also a dynamic set of programs and communications initiatives to celebrate Indiana writers. Indiana Humanities is committed to making these authors accessible to Hoosiers across the state because meeting an author can spark or renew a lifelong love of literature and reading. It's a love my father kept into his 90s, and even when his eyesight began to fail, he turned to books on tape and always had a book going at home. It's a love we should share as we work to become ambassadors for Indiana authors. Excellent writing deserves to be enjoyed, celebrated, and shared. Thank you for joining me in these efforts. Now, I'd like to turn the stage over to Indiana Award winners, finalist, and best-selling author of The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat, which I've read and loved, Edward Kelsey Moore.
Thank you very much. As Marion said, I was a finalist for an Indiana Authors Award a few years ago. It was a great experience for a number of reasons. First, like most writers, I have a fractured and fragile ego. That means that there are always two voices in my head competing for dominance. One voice lies to me and tells me that every single word I write stinks. The second voice grants me the courage to continue writing by lying to me and telling me that I'm a genius. The Indiana Authors Awards helps writers to push through the inevitable challenges of a writing career by encouraging us to listen to that second voice. Another reason I was so happy to be recognized by Indiana Authors Awards was that I embrace being an Indiana author. I set my first two novels in southern Indiana, and the novel I'm writing now is set in the suburbs of Indianapolis. Indiana readers understand aspects of my work that other readers don't. And it's a real treat to be honored by an organization that embraces Hoosier writing. Through the Indiana Authors Awards and the Indiana Humanities, I've had the wonderful experience of traveling to several different towns around the state and speaking with an amazing cross-section of Indiana readers as part of the Novel Conversation Speakers Program. The Speakers Program has allowed me to discuss my books and the process of writing with Hoosiers of different ages, different income levels, and different ethnicities. This is especially meaningful to me because I know through personal experience that interesting things can happen when working artists are connected with members of the public. The results can be life-changing. Before I wrote my first novel, I had a long and very happy career as a classical musician. I went from being a kid who only knew classical music through Bugs Bunny cartoons to being a classical music lover and then a professional cellist, largely because I encountered musicians of the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra through a long extinct program called the Music Memory Contest. Some of you might remember that. For those of you who are too young, the Music Memory Contest brought musicians of the Indianapolis Symphony to schools and to students around the city, and we were able to contact real live musical artists doing what they did. And most of my colleagues didn't become musicians like I did, but that one program gave thousands of kids and their teachers an appreciation for a living art form that they wouldn't otherwise have had. On the other extreme, the concept of a literary life remained mysterious to me for many, many years, even though I was an avid reader as a kid. I knew that Indiana had a great literary history with writers like Booth Tarkington and James Whitcomb Riley and Lew Wallace, but I didn't have an understanding of Indiana literature as a living, breathing thing when I was young. I have zero regrets for the way that my writing career has worked out for me. But meeting and talking with a successful living writer, the same way that I first encountered musicians, would at the very least have been a really cool thing. Participating in the speakers program through Indiana Humanities has given me the chance to meet Hoosier readers around the state and be part of a really cool thing. Kurt Vonnegut, one of the great Hoosier writers of all time, said, "I myself trust my own writing most, and others seem to trust it most too, when I sound most like a person from Indianapolis, which is what I am." I'm not going to argue with Kurt Vonnegut. I take his words to heart every time I look at a blank page, and I think it's fantastic that the Indiana Authors Awards and Indiana Humanities appreciate and reward the myriad ways that Hoosiers sound like and write like Hoosiers. Thank you very much.
We're a community that cares. And I hope that we reflect that in everything we do.
Indiana authors share our experiences. In many ways, we need to build a more robust community and support for local writers.
Why I really love Indiana Humanities is because it allows me to bring real authors into the classroom.
It's very exciting for them, to have a New York Times best-selling author come to our small school and talk to them.
I remember going to a library that was so far out that GPS doesn't work out there. And I got there and I was amazed to find that there were people reading The Big Smoke, or reading about Jack Johnson, out in this very agrarian rural place. And we had a blast.
So a little less than 4 years ago, the Indiana Poet Laureate Adrian Matika came out to our high school for a Novel Conversations program. And we had English teachers nominate students who were very successful writers and have a real future in the humanities. And they got to have a special lunch with this awesome poet.
I met Adrian Matika at the public library, and Adrian, he sat right next to me. Can't know, like, inside, freaking out. They did it, I can do it. And there's people here to support you and show you, like, there's somewhere you could be able to communicate with your friends.
We have the CDLC Book Fest every year in June, and so we really promote the small local authors. We're just excited about sharing our books and authors with people. I think we're talking about how do we attract people to Indianapolis, and I think by having a rich artist community, that's one way to attract them.
Writing is not usually something you do in a group. So listening to talks from other writers gives you a chance to hear how they create. And it also feels good to see writers being celebrated in the public square.
We have an author series. Edward Kelsey-Moore is more of a local author too. And we were so lucky to get that grant through Indiana Humanities. We have 20 members in our book club. And we will actually go through the Novel Conversations list and see all the new books that are added. And we've been doing it for maybe almost 4 years in December. And we literally could not run this book club without Novel Conversations.
He's talked so much about being career ready. A part of being career ready is being able to communicate. And I think that Indiana Humanities allows me to have that toolbox to be able to bring that to my classroom to these writers that are coming here.
They unite all of libraries and communities for a greater good.
And I think that Indiana Humanities does a really good job at making reading, writing, and thinking fun. The kids who have volunteered or experienced any of our programming with Indiana Humanities will never forget it, and we have instilled something in them that will be lifelong.
This can be me. This can be me for someone else. How they're inspiring me, I can be for someone else. Because for me, if I had never met them, personally, I don't think I would be the person I am today, because they impacted my life so much.
At the center of it, isn't that what we're doing? We're trying to find a way to reach and inspire fellow Hoosiers.
All right, well, as you can see, bringing Indiana authors and their works to Hoosier schools and communities is transformative. As you leave here this evening, We encourage you to read local, to find and support the authors writing in your own backyard right now. Stories that come from the places we reside are powerful. They allow readers to connect to their communities, to understand the lives of those they live alongside, and imagine possibilities they may have never considered. Another thing that reading does is it encourages people to talk together, sometimes between people who have never spoken, about topics that are sometimes hard to discuss. Young readers learn and lose themselves in the worlds created by Hoosier authors, and talking to Indiana author for the first time, they can start to imagine the stories they might tell about their own lives. So we must all work to build this kind of culture, a place where writers are supported, stories are told, futures are imagined, a place where it's more important to ask, what are you reading, than what do you do for a living? Are you ready to get started? I know most of you are already started. I know what this group's all about. So tonight, here's a fun challenge. So talk with an author. Okay, if you're an author in this room, an author, raise your hand. Okay, you see these authors, go talk to an author tonight. All right, pick up a new book from our friends at Indy Reads Books. They are selling books tonight by Indiana authors. Hey, Indy Reads, thank you. We need more local bookstores too, but we haven't quite tackled that yet. We also would invite you to come write a poem with Tony Brewer, Adam Henze, and Blaine Carroll. They're over here doing poetry on demand, so if you have not experienced it yet, you need to come hang out with them. What? Oh, it's all right. You're creating. It's perfect. All right, so in closing, right now, I'm encouraging you to be an ambassador for Indiana literature, read and recommend Indiana books. There are little card decks. Do you guys see the card decks? Okay, these are going to help you with your journey here to be an ambassador. So they highlight authors, and you can use that to maybe find your next Indiana read. So right now you can follow the Indiana Authors Award on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram. Share news about writers with your friends. It's a fun thing to do. It's a great way to help. And right now you can apply to bring an Indiana author to speak in your community or to host a writing workshop free of charge. Okay, you apply, you get selected, you get to host. This is very cool. So you sign up there by visiting the website that just went live today. It's indianaauthorsAwards.org. And finally, right now, you can begin to nominate books for the 2020 Indiana Authors Award. So nominations open today, so you need to spread the word and help us spread the word. You can go to the same website, indianaauthorsAwards.org. All right, now let's get to work. We're going to put more books written by Indiana authors into the hands of more readers. We're going to build a literary culture that's open and inviting and supportive. So let's encourage everyone to read local right now. Thank you so much.